All right. Happy Sunday. Happy July 12th, everyone. Welcome to a Mother's Heart podcast, a podcast that I started on behalf of my son, Jimmy Mitchell, who passed away from an overdose in 2021. So I wanted to create a platform, create the podcast where we talk about grief, we talk about loss, community, just a platform where anyone can come on. We share our testimonies. We cry, we laugh, we heal. We just all things positive, right?
Yes.
Awesome, awesome. So today's guest, I'm so excited. Her name is Miss Shay. So welcome, Miss Shay, to the Mother's Heart podcast. Tell us where you're from, and just introduce yourself, and then we'll go into your story, testimony.
Absolutely. Hi, I'm Shay Wilson. I am a grief coach. I'm an author. I'm a speaker, and I'm the founder of Gathering the Fragments, which is my ministry that's dedicated to helping people navigate loss and unimaginable pain. Um, I help them rediscover purpose and just kind of walk them through that process. But my biggest title is I'm a mom. I am currently here in ATL, but I'm originally from New York City. I've been in Atlanta for about 23 years this year. So, yeah.
All right. Do you like ATL or New York better, or kind of both?
Well, I like to go home and visit.
Okay.
Yeah, do like a little dose here and there in New York, but I love ATL. Yes,
Yeah, it's a vibe. I
it
love
is.
it for sure. All right, well, we're gonna go, by the questions, but we're just gonna free flow and just let things
Okay.
go. So tell us. I know, we've talked. How did you hear about the podcast? Let's start there. Or how did you see? How did we like?
Connect.
Yes, because I know you told me you saw it, and then you reached out to me, and then we kind of.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I'm looking for ways to collaborate and connect with people to see
Okay.
other people's stories,
Okay.
and just see because you never know, and just hear everybody else's experience. And so I was just scouring Instagram, and I
Okay.
came across your page, and I was like, oh wow, she's a mom who's also lost a child. I didn't know the full story, but I did know, and then I saw you had a podcast, and I just felt like there was a way for us to connect because me having lost two children in a short period of time, I I don't understand your pain, but I definitely understand your story.
For sure. For sure. Definitely. And yeah, it's definitely a club you definitely don't want to be a part of. I tell you
Right.
that it is. I was like I shared with you earlier. The anniversary of his death is coming up on the 19th. It's so crazy. Like it gets fuzzy. I can't even remember the date.
Yeah.
The date. It's almost like a mental block or something.
Yes.
And I find myself being more emotional around this time, more triggered.
Yes.
Like even the story about the young man that was in Mississippi and he
Yes.
drowned.
My
Um,
goodness.
somebody was like, I literally had to like, I can't because it
It's
just,
triggering.
it
Yeah,
triggers me.
absolutely. It's so interesting you say that because I was watching it and I found myself getting triggered as well. And
Did you?
although my children didn't transition that same way, it's just the loss of a child and that space. I mean, like you said, it's a club that you wouldn't wish on your worst enemy. I don't wish anyone to
No.
go down that route and to have to even experience anything like that
Yes.
because it just seems like it goes against what's natural. Like I'm older, I had you, I should outlive you. And so
Sure.
when you lose your children,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's prematurely, accidental, they were sick, whatever way, it doesn't even matter. It's the fact that they're no longer here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's hard. It's very, very,
Mm-hmm.
very hard place to be in.
Truly. Well,
Mhm.
give us a little bit of your story and everything about your children.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, my grief story actually starts prior to them. So my I lost my husband of 20 years in 2018, February 2018.
Okay.
And, I felt like I really couldn't grieve that because I still had children that I had to take care of. And so I was trying my best to remain strong for everyone and still be mom, super mom, as we normally do.
Of course.
And then Bryce and Brian, they were born with special needs. Bryce was born with single left ventricle, which was a heart condition, a congenital heart condition, which eventually he would have had to have a heart transplant, which he did. He had a heart transplant in 2020, March
Okay.
of 2020. And for those 2 years, from March 2020 until May 22nd, 2022, it was a fight because he had the transplant in March, but by June his heart got rejected. His body rejected the heart, and so he was in the hospital for the most part those whole 2 years. And at the same time, while trying to make sure he's good at the hospital, the Children's Hospital here in Atlanta, I was also taking care of Brian, which is his twin, who had his own special set of needs. He had spina bifida, and so he was wheelchair bound. He also had a colostomy, and he just had like a bunch of other secondary conditions as well. And so I found myself running to and fro the hospital, just making sure everybody's okay, making sure everybody's covered. Like again, being mom. And so again, Bryce passed away May 22nd, 2022. And then Brian passed away 20 days later on June 11th. Not a month later, not a year later, 20 days later.
And
And
how old were they again?
16.
They were 16.
They were 16 years old. And it was like, okay, Glenn, Bryce, Brian.
Yes.
And we had a family of 6, and half my family in 4 years was gone. And just, I was so overwhelmed from compounded grief.
Yes.
Compounded grief, right? I couldn't really.
Explain that, because a lot of
So-
people say compound.
Compounded grief is when you have one loss right after the next. It's just like it doesn't happen, and it just happens like seemingly consecutively. It could be within months, weeks, even a couple of years, because 4 years is still a short time
Absolutely.
to lose so many people. And then the 20 days apart between the two of them, I just felt like I was in a car that I couldn't manage. I just felt like a speeding train.
Yes.
And yeah, and so I just, that's what happened. I felt overwhelmed, angry, numb, afraid. I couldn't comprehend what was happening to me. It just didn't make sense to me. And it wasn't until my birthday is November 30th. I remember emotionally dying. I felt like, okay, I'm not going to kill myself. No, never thought that, because I'm a believer, and I always felt like, no, I wouldn't do that.
Right.
But I felt like I wanted to commit myself into the house, into the crazy house, into somewhere. That's why I call it the crazy house. I'm sorry if I'm offending anyone, but that's what I felt. I felt like I was going crazy.
Yeah, that's a true emotion. That's a true, that's how you feel.
Yeah. And so I remember calling 2 friends of mine, one who's a therapist, and I said, listen, I'm going to admit myself into and commit myself, because I can't function, I can't think, I don't know what to do with myself. And she was like, okay. And I remember feeling that, and then as I was driving on my way to the hospital, I felt like a peace that came over me. And was like, I didn't have to do that anymore. I no longer felt out of control.
Okay.
So I remember praying and talking to God, saying, God, if you would allow me to live to see my birthday, then I know that you have purpose for me, that I'm not cursed. There's nothing wrong with me. This is just something that you've called me to walk out. And that's what happened. I remember waking up on my birthday, and normally I do these glamour shots. I go, I have photographer friends, and I do this whole thing. And I didn't do that. I just hopped online, and I was so grateful. I was just crying, just grateful on live, looking a mess, but just saying, God let me live, y'all. I'm here. He let me live.
You definitely have purpose. Definitely have purpose. We all do,
Yeah.
And just, unfortunately, like we spoke earlier, like I can't say why things happen the way, there's no crystal ball. People can try to, I won't say pacify you, but they give you a reason. It was God's will or this or that. And that still does not give you the comfort of, why my son? Why did this happen?
Right.
Like
Right.
literally, I know I felt like I pleaded with God, like, please, don't take my son.
Yes.
And things turned out the way they did. And you're still with this hole in your heart and this question mark of, what do I do with this? You know?
Right. What do I do with this, and why did it happen?
Hmm.
Because even at the stage that I'm in now, where I'm helping others and I'm walking others through it, and I understand the purpose behind it and all of that, but I still don't understand the why. But one of the things that I decided to stop doing was asking why,
Okay.
because I realized that I may never get that answer, and it doesn't serve me.
Yes.
It doesn't serve me. The why of it doesn't serve me.
Hmm.
It's the what am I going to do with it?
There you go.
Right? That serves me and it serves others.
Yeah.
And I want to touch back to something that you mentioned about, some of the things that people say. I not only coach those who've lost, but I also coach people who walk alongside, or those who support the grieved.
Yeah.
Okay. And one of the things that I tell them is that, we have to stop saying certain things. Well, they're better off. They're with God, or, you
Right.
know, God wouldn't put more in you than you can bear, and all of these sayings that we say,
Mm.
that I believe the intent is right, and I don't believe it's malicious.
Right.
However, it's not helpful,
Hmm.
right? And so what it tends to do is it causes us additional emotions on top of that. Because
Hmm.
I don't want to hear that in that moment. As much as I'm a believer, and as much as I do know and believe God's will, and that God has me, and that I get all of that, but that doesn't help me, right?
Yeah.
What helps is you just showing up, be there. If you have the capacity, and if you don't, that's fine too, because everyone does not have the capacity to be a listening ear. Another thing that you can do is I'm a strong believer in acts of kindness,
Okay.
right? Rather than saying, hey, call me if you need anything. I'm not going to call you. My mind's not even thinking about you.
Hmm.
Just do an act of kindness. Just say, you know what, Shay, Cherie, I'm gonna send you some food. I just want to send you some flowers. Just do something that could
Yeah.
possibly bring lighten my day, lighten my load.
Hmm.
Um, those are the things that I talk to people about,
Hmm.
because it's real, and it can, it's not helpful.
True. That is so true, Shay. Thank you for that. Because
Mhm.
I found, like, people would tell me, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. So
Right.
they would tend to either avoid me or just, like, you know what I
Right.
mean? You know,
Yeah.
awkward. And then I'm feeling a ways like, well, I haven't heard from this person. Why
Right.
haven't they, And a lot of them, they told me, they're like, honestly, I just didn't know what to say to you. And then they didn't want to trigger or
Right.
be upset. So it's kind of like, well, what do I do? What do I say? But I
Right.
agree with you with the acts of kindness.
Acts of
Yeah.
kindness, that
Yeah.
goes a long way,
True.
long way. And it's so funny because that's a universal response to grief, just like the universal sayings of "I don't know what to say," or "I don't want to trigger you," or I mean, it's no matter who it is that you lose, no matter what happens, and what level of relationship is lost, there
Hmm.
are universal responses that people say, and again, they believe that they're coming from a good place. And I'm not saying that they wouldn't. I'm not in anyone's heart to talk there to speak their intent.
Sure.
However, I will say that it doesn't help. Like you said, you feel like, well, Dag, where are you?
Hmm.
My mind is not, the forefront of my mind is not to think, oh, so and so. My mind is on my sadness, the depth of my sadness, the brokenness that I'm feeling. And acts of kindness is something that is a universal response that lifts everyone, because I will remember that. I will remember the fact that you delivered flowers, or you delivered some food to me, or you sent me a Cash App, or, a Zelle, or that you just did something because I didn't know what to say. Just do.
Absolutely.
Just do.
Absolutely. Question: was there a moment when you realized you couldn't carry the grief alone?
Yes. um, because I'm a caregiver by nature, by heart. I care. God has called me to be that. I am so used to being strong and helping everyone. And what began to happen was I started to have panic attacks.
Mm.
Like my body was responding. And I was like, what's wrong with me? What's wrong? What's wrong?
Mm.
And went to my doctor to get to the root of it. And she was just like, Shay, Who's taking care of you? You have to address what has happened to you. Those are very real things that happen to you, and you can't just do what you normally do, which is like, okay, it happened. You can't ignore it. It must be addressed.
I try.
And so it was the panic attacks that kind of triggered that, my body responding to what was happening with me internally. And I didn't know where it was coming from. And it was my doctor's help to let me see that that's what was going on with you, is you're just trying to move forward with life. And the thing is that I didn't even realize. So since then, I'm in counseling and therapy. And she asked me, like, well, what is your vice? And I'm like, I don't know, because I'm not a drinker. I don't do drugs. I don't, I'm not into porn like this. And she said, you know what it is? And I was like, what? She said, helping people. I said,
I get it.
stop me in my tracks. Stop me. She said, now, because you're called to do that, there's nothing wrong with that. But Chanel, you have to, I'm sorry, you have to set boundaries and parameters around it to make sure that you are also taking care of yourself.
Right.
You cannot abandon yourself while helping others. Who's pouring into you? And that thing hit me like a ton of bricks.
The light bulb went off.
Every light bulb went off.
Yeah. So what did you start doing to take care of yourself? Was it like an immediate, okay, I'm gonna, or did
Yes. So it started with my doctor with the panic attack. So I said, okay. I started walking, tapping into my community, the friends that did have the capacity to just sit with me. And, I love massage therapy. So I like, doing massages, getting massages, journaling. Journaling was big for me because I was able to take everything that I was feeling on the inside and put it on paper. Journaling. And I would say anyone journal. I promise you, it is it is a breath of fresh air. And just kind of combining those things. Therapy came on later, but those were the things that I began to do. And of course, praying, listening to worship music, all of those things that can help lift your spirit, bring some peace to you, lift some of the weight off of you. All of those things I incorporated and was being intentional about them.
Right. Do you ever go back and read the journal? Can you? I know I was talking to someone, they were like, I can't go back and read what I wrote, but at least I write it out.
I go through some pages, some of the titles I look at and I'm like, no, I can't do that because it's very triggering for me.
I got you.
Yeah.
Okay. How has your faith, your support system, or your personal journey helped you find strength to keep moving forward?
Well, my faith helped me more than anything because I know that God is with me, that He has not left me. He said He'll never leave me nor forsake me. And even though things happen in life, one thing remains, and that's Him. And so I lean on that God, no matter what happens in life, no matter trials, tribulations, things come, things go, relationships, jobs, money, anything, I know that you will always be with me. And I know that you've given me peace that passes all understanding.
Yes.
And that has carried me, the peace that God has given me, because there were times when I was so deep in my sadness that I didn't even think to ask for it, but He would just give it to me. And my friends, like I said, they would reach out to me and say, hey, Shay, let's go, let's do something. We're not going to allow you to just sit and wallow, which is good. Now, I do believe that there is a time where you should set aside time to yourself and cry and do what you need to do. But then I believe that you should also let people in as well. And everyone will know the balance for themselves and how that works. And like I said, therapy. I love therapy. I can't.
I have two. Well, I have a counselor and I have a therapist.
Yes.
Yeah. For
Yes.
sure.
Absolutely. And I underestimated the impact and power of therapy, of talk therapy. So yeah.
What about the impact on your other children?
That's a very good question.
Yes, because I think um, the children sometimes,
Mhm.
not that they get ignored, but they're not acknowledged like the parents. So
Agree.
I even brought my sons here on the podcast so they could express how they felt and what they went through to get
Yeah.
their perspective. So,
Yeah, that's great. And you're right. The other children tend to get ignored because they focus on the main the parent
okay.
in that situation. I would say that my sons, they're finding their way
Mm-hmm.
because they're sons, they're grown men now,
Mm-hmm.
and it did impact them heavily, but in differently.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I tried to make sure to remind people is that my sons are grieving too. They lost their brother.
Yes.
So yes, I did lose my sons, but they lost their brothers. And so I wanted to make sure that people also took the time to acknowledge them in their pain, in their
Mm-hmm.
sadness as well.
Absolutely.
Mm.
What about counseling for them? Did you seek
I
counseling?
tried to, yeah, but they were
Yeah.
like, "Nah, I'm good." I was like, "Okay, okay." You know
Yeah.
what? Especially grown men.
True.
Um, you have to let them come on on their own. It's like it did with me, and I didn't judge them because it took me a little while to acknowledge that I needed help.
Yes.
Again, being so strong, and they've watched me be so strong. They
Mm-hmm.
also were like, "Ma, good. I'm glad you're doing that because you're so strong for everybody.
Yes.
Go get the help that you need." Ooh.
Uh-oh. Your sound.
My sound.
There you go. There you go. It kind of
Um,
went muffled for a second. No, you're good. Yes. That's
yeah.
awesome. That is awesome. Do we have any questions for Shay from anyone that's watching, any of our viewers? No questions? Not yet. Shay, do you have any questions for me? Flip it for a second.
Okay. Yeah. What are you doing to take care of you?
What am I doing? Similar. Definitely the counseling.
Mhm.
Said I have two. I have my therapist I've been seeing for uh, since I was probably in my 20s,
Okay.
going to therapy. And then my grief counselor, someone recommended her to me after my son passed away because I knew I needed a certain type of help with that.
Yes.
I
Yes.
couldn't tackle this by myself. And so her name is, shout out to Tanya Cunningham. She's amazing.
Hey, Tanya.
Yes, I go to that appointment if I don't do anything else.
I know that's right.
And she helps give me the tools to, um, to heal, to help myself heal.
Yeah.
Prayer, journaling.
Mm-hmm.
I think staying busy helps
Mm-hmm.
me. Um, but that's good and bad because sometimes I find myself when I'm not busy and when it's quiet,
Yeah.
that's when sometimes the thoughts and I replay it in my mind.
Yeah.
So if you have that too.
I do. And again, I do believe that there's a point where that's healthy.
Okay.
You don't want to avoid it because that's what prolongs grief, right? Or
Yeah.
certain stages of grief,
Right,
right? Because
right.
the thing is that we're going to carry that for the rest of our lives.
Yes.
We just carry it differently.
Mm-hmm.
And what I've learned to do was change the thoughts rather
Mm-hmm.
than having the woe is me thoughts or like, oh my gosh, I
Mm-hmm.
can't believe this happened to me. I say, you know what, God, I thank you for allowing me to be the one to bring forth those children and steward
Yes.
their lives. Like
Mm-hmm.
I change it, I do the best I can to change it to gratitude. Not that I try to avoid the sadness, because
Yep.
the cries, all of that. Crying is purging. It helps. It's cathartic. It helps you,
Mm-hmm.
and it helps wash your spirit.
Mm-hmm.
So there's nothing wrong with that. However, I make it a part of my practice to make sure that I shift after a while because everyone, the point where you start
Mm-hmm.
going from sadness to tiptoeing into depression.
Yes.
And I
Mm-hmm.
feel like, being self aware with your emotions and understanding, being so in tune with yourself knowing like, okay, I'm starting to tiptoe into some places that's getting kind of dark.
Yes.
And that's when I begin to shift the internal conversations that I have within myself,
Mm-hmm.
and then start utilizing the tools that I'm teaching others for myself, right? The breathing techniques, like I said, calling someone, just saying, okay, Chanel, you're going to be upset for this period of time, but you know, give yourself a time limit. Now it's time to shift. It's
Right.
time to now become more grateful. Think about the good memories. Like I have built a machine to where I have forced myself to do those things now at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But there are times I'm not perfect with it. Like today, case in point,
Mm-hmm.
I have Google Photos, and it brought up a memory of
Yeah.
my twins, and I took a video of them, and they were playing a video game, basketball, like NBA 2K, I think it's called, and it popped up, and I saw it, and my emotions started to be like, oh my God, you know, and I allowed myself to cry.
Okay.
I took some breaths, and I said, it's okay. They were happy. Look at the video again, Chanel. They were happy.
Mm.
They were happy. And no matter how we lose our loved one, we have to remember those happy moments.
Yes.
They were happy. There were points they were happy.
Yes.
And like everybody else, like with us, there are points we're happy, there are points and sometimes that we're sad, you know, anger. They go through their own range of emotions as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I choose not to constantly remember those painful moments. It does not help me at all.
I like how you said it. It doesn't serve. It doesn't serve me.
It doesn't
That
serve.
is that is very, very true.
Mhm.
Very true. All right. Grief often changes us. In what ways has the experience changed who you are today?
It's changed me a lot. It's changed me a lot. The main thing I'm going to talk about, the main thing that it has done is it's provided me purpose. It's given me purpose, um, to take the things that have happened to me,
Mm-hmm.
coupled with the strength that God has given me, and say, Chanel, I'm going to take the things that the devil meant for evil and turn it for good.
Mm-hmm.
The scripture says that, right? And
Yes.
so I want to make sure that I'm helping someone else, you
Mm-hmm.
know, because I was talking to someone else who experienced some loss. And I said, you know, sometimes when we get into circles and in spaces like this where we talk to one another,
Mm-hmm.
we listen to someone else's story and we're just like, oh, wow. It helps you to reflect on your own,
Yes.
right? It gives you some perspective. And so I came into this industry, into this ministry, in order to impact and help people understand that I've had the worst of worst happen to me as well. And I'm choosing to help you. I'm choosing to make a difference. I'm choosing to take what has happened in my life and turn it around for good and be purposeful and help someone else, pull someone else through. That's how it's changed me. It's given me purpose.
That's beautiful. I can definitely. I feel the same way. Definitely found my purpose, but I will say, in addition to that,
Mm-hmm.
my boundaries are stronger, right?
Yes.
Because I feel like prior I was, people pleaser,
Yeah.
sweep stuff under the rug, just, you know. And I now, when I tell you I cut stuff off, if you give me any kind of bad vibe, juju, whatever, like
Yeah. Yeah.
done, it's done. Like I
Yeah.
can't. And even
Yeah.
like you said, I always say like the worst thing that could have ever happened to me happened to me.
Yes.
So yeah.
Anything else? And it's yeah, and I just talked about like the greatest thing that happened, of course. Like I'm in therapy now working on my boundaries, working on my attachments because
Yes.
the downside of losing and having that level of grief has caused me to have some anxious attachments.
Yes.
And I needed to figure out like, wait a minute, hold
Mm-hmm.
up. I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't that way prior.
Right.
You know, these are some of the things that happen as a result of losing people that you love, is you try to hold on to stuff that don't need to be held on to.
Yes.
And so I And I'm not talking about just romantic relationships, even friendships, people that
Sure.
you know are not right for you, things that you know is not right, are not right. You still try to. And so I'm in therapy now because of that. I had to deal with my own grief and the way it shows up.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, I talked about purpose, but I'm with you with that. I'm like, okay, Chanel, you got to get back to that because there's too much life to live,
It is.
right? Um,
Yes.
and I value healthy relationships. I value joy and happiness
Mm-hmm.
because none of us knows when our time is going to come.
That's
And I
true.
don't want to waste any time not doing anything that does not bring me joy.
Mm-hmm. I like that. I like that. I had another question that I didn't have on here, but I'm gonna come back to it in a minute.
Okay.
Um, kind of answered that. Um, what are some of the biggest misconceptions people have about grieving parents? How can we better support someone who has experienced the loss of a child? So, like someone in our shoes, like,
Hmm. Okay. So I would say one of the biggest misconceptions is that grief has an expiration date
mm-hmm,
for the rest of our lives. For the rest of our lives, we are going to be mothers who are grieving their children.
mm-hmm,
And that's not going to change as long as I'm alive. Um, you can't rush us past it. You can't skip over it. You can't forget. And I'm going to give you an example. I had someone talk to me about, oh, how many children? I said, I have four. I have four children. They're like, well, don't you mean two? I said, no, I have four children
mm-hmm,
because my children, Bryce and Brian, are still very much alive in me. They're very much alive in my purpose and gathering the fragments in this conversation. They show up for
mm-hmm,
me, their memory and the life that they've lived.
mm-hmm.
So I don't, we're not gonna just act like they didn't live here for 16 years, you know? So
Yeah.
I think that that's one of the biggest misconceptions that people want to just kind of forget. And no, we don't forget. We don't forget our grief. We live with it. We just carry it differently. And what was your second question?
It was what were the misconceptions about grieving parents, and how can we better support someone who has experienced the loss of a child? How can you better support? Just what we've been through,
As far as you and I.
or just some. Let's say if someone we have a group and another person came to the group and they're like, "Hey, I just lost my child.
Mhm.
What are some helpful? How could you, or what advice would you give them? Support."
I would be a listening ear. Same way I just described it earlier. I
Mm-hmm.
would say, listen, and explain to them, I understand. I don't know what your pain is because everyone's pain is different.
Mm-hmm.
But I definitely understand your story. And I think that we need to have more spaces where, like you said, the clubs where we can get with one another. So, because a lot of times, like prior to meeting you and others, a lot of people couldn't identify with that type of loss.
No.
And it's different. It's not the same as losing a spouse, losing a mother, losing a father. They're all different. It has its own space.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I believe that mothers who have lost children should support mothers who have lost children.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
And so us being there, being what we wish we had, but showing up for that person in that way
Yes.
is the best way that we can support people, the mothers who've lost their children and everything that comes along with it.
Right. Yes. Do you feel like where do you feel like you are in your grief? Like, do you feel like you're on the other side? Was a time where you couldn't talk about it? Where you just like, do you feel like you're definitely on your healing journey of, I guess, acceptance, if you will?
Yes, absolutely. Um, I would say last year, this time, I wasn't able to talk about it.
Okay.
Last year, this time, I wasn't able to talk about it. I am definitely, and you know what helped me be at this point? Helping others, talking to others.
Mm-hmm.
Because the more I talk about it, is the more I'm realizing the help that I'm providing, right? Not in a toxic way, but because it keeps, I'm able to help people, like I said, restructure and re-examine, redefine, repurpose what it is that's happening with them. And in turn, it's touching my life and it's helping me. It's
Mm-hmm.
providing healing for me because I know what you feel. I understand what you're going through. Um, and so yeah, I'm definitely on the healing side of it. And on the healing side of it doesn't mean that you don't cry. It doesn't mean that you don't still have moments of sadness, as I just explained, a minute ago. I still have my moment. I had a moment today.
Mm-hmm.
However, I am much farther today than I was a year ago as it relates to where I'm at. I have accepted the fact. Still don't doesn't answer my why. My
Yeah,
why is still, remember I told you I don't even deal with the whys anymore.
sure.
I show up in the what can I do? How can I serve?
How can
And
I move forward? I
heal
love that.
forward, healing forward, healing forward.
Amen. We need to put that on a t-shirt.
Yeah, that's my tagline. That's
Is
Gavin.
it really?
It
I
is.
love
Heal
that.
forward. Mhm.
Okay. Well, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, I want you to tell us about, you started a foundation or,
Well, I have a foundation. I haven't started it yet.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. When we come back, we're going to start with that and then
Okay.
flow in the podcast. So let's take a
Okay.
little break. All right.
Okay.
Okay.
hmm
Am I the only one that didn't know how transformative sound can be? Why are there not more people talking about how crucial audio quality is for any space? I remember the day I walked into a church, filled with hope and expectation, only to be met with echoes and muffled sounds. The pastor's voice struggled to reach the back rows and the congregation was lost in a sea of confusion. That's when it hit me. Sound is the soul of any gathering place. Every club, school, and hotel deserves clarity and connection. Yet so many buildings suffer from poor audio-visual integration. With DS Sounds, we ensure high-quality equipment is installed seamlessly before the walls even go up. We save you time and money so you can focus on what truly matters, creating a space where voices are heard and spirits are lifted. Let's transform your venue into a masterpiece of sound together. Because when sound is right, everything else falls into place.
Hi, it's Justina here, better known as Breakthrough with Jay, and I have something that I created that I really truly feel is going to help so many people.
Anxiety doesn't have to run your life anymore. Inside this journal, you won't just find prompts. You'll find clarity, tools to help you breathe again, a space to understand your thoughts, not fear them, reflections from someone who's been there and made it out stronger. It's not just about managing anxiety. It's about finding you again. Ready to take your peace back? The 60-Day Anxiety Guidance Journal is now available.
Let Them See You Sweat is a powerful diversity, equity, and inclusion narrative that chronicles my journey as a Black woman navigating and overcoming barriers in the workplace and in society. This book not only explores critical issues of workplace discrimination and personal resilience, but also offers actionable guidance for readers looking to foster inclusive environments. #DEI. I am diversity, equity, and inclusion, and I earned it. Equitably was not always given to me. B-Bird.
Am I the only one that didn't know how transformative sound can be? Why are there not more people talking about how crucial audio quality is for any space? I remember the day I walked into a church, filled with hope and expectation, only to be met with echoes and muffled sounds. The pastor's voice struggled to reach the back rows and the congregation was lost in a sea of confusion. That's when it hit me. Sound is the soul of any gathering place. Every club, school, and hotel deserves clarity and connection. Yet so many buildings suffer from poor audio-visual integration. With DS Sounds, we ensure high-quality equipment is installed seamlessly before the walls even go up. We save you time and money so you can focus on what truly matters, creating a space where voices are heard and spirits are lifted. Let's transform your venue into a masterpiece of sound together. Because when sound is right, everything else falls into place.
All right. All right. We are back with Miss Shay. She is on a Mother's Heart podcast today. We are talking about um, just life, grief, after grief, healing, and
Yeah.
moving forward after the after.
Yes.
So before we take our commercial break, since the loss of your twin boys, Bryce
Brian.
and Brian, right?
Mhm.
Tell us what you have started. I know you said you started a foundation. You're doing things to also help others with grief. Kind of explain to us kind of what you're doing.
Yes. So the foundation piece, I'm in the process of solidifying that, but it's called Be Squared Away
Okay.
LLC. And B squared is Bryce and Brian. It was a mathematic. Yeah. And it's like the Holy Spirit gave me that name. And so we give back to families with children with special needs. That's my heart.
Mm-hmm.
I am also currently pursuing a nursing degree so that I can also work with special needs children and parents and families. And I also have Gathering the Fragments. Gathering the Fragments. And let me tell you, you know what's interesting about that is, like I said, Glenn passed away in 2018. In 2020, February, God told me to become a certified coach.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, what's a coach? What's a sort of, I didn't know what a life coach was.
Right.
I didn't know, but I was obedient to it and I did it. And then it was put on hold. And then he gave me in 2021, Gathering the Fragments, which I still did not know. I had no idea, but I just know he was giving me this information.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until after they transitioned, and a little bit after that, where he started showing me why he had me become a coach and why he gave me Gathering the Fragments, is because I would help people who feel scattered from their losses, gather their pieces to show them what's whole. And I was like, okay, God is just so divine in his wisdom and intentional with his actions as to just showing us the things that we need to do. We just need to be obedient as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
You sense that you're moving in a direction as long as you're prayerful. The Bible says that he's ordering our steps. And so we want to make sure that, we're all doing and being who God called us to be. And this is my give back for the things that I've gone through, the losses that I have endured.
Mm-hmm.
He's called me to do. Gathering the Fragments, Be Squared Away.
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
And do you, I guess later when we end, we'll get your social media if you want to share
Mm-hmm.
with the audience and everything.
Absolutely.
And again, if anyone has questions for me or Shay, feel free to put them in the chat. We would love to answer if we can help anyone.
Yeah.
I think right now we don't have any. Do we have any questions? Nothing yet? Okay. Shay, I have another question for you.
Sure.
What is your fondest memory of your twins?
My fondest memory is they love to play practical jokes. I mean, they were comedians, and we were in the house, and I was downstairs, I think in the kitchen preparing a meal, and everyone was accounted for. Okay, I have 4 sons and a husband. I went upstairs, and I don't remember what I went upstairs for, but when I went upstairs, I went inside my bedroom. I saw what looked like a person in my bed that was snoring. And I was like, wait a minute. You start having these moments where you're like, am I losing it? And I was looking at the bed, and I just heard snoring, and it looked like there was a body that was fully under the covers. Anyway, I yelled downstairs to my husband, Glenn, and I was like, Glenn, you got to get up here. Somebody's in the bed. And he's like, what are you talking about? And he came upstairs and he pulled the covers back. Like, what is going on? And the twins just bust out laughing. They, in their genius selves, I guess found a snoring, from YouTube. And they used a basketball as a head, and they made the clothes into like a body. Like they used towels and clothing and shaped it into a body. And I think about that every now and then, and just how much joy that they brought me. They were so funny. They were just humorous. Their sense of humor. They just were funny kids. A joy. That's my fondest memory. Because I was scared.
he did something similar when he was little. My mom was keeping him,
Mhm.
and for some, I don't know why she always wanted to give him a bath and make him a sandwich or something. That was like her granny thing, right?
Mhm.
And so he was, I guess, in the mood for it. And so she called me frantically and told me she couldn't find him. I'm like, what
Mm.
do you mean you can't find him? Like, he's with you. Like, you're like, I can't find him. So I rush over there. By then, I'm about to call 911. We're looking all over the house. Can't find him, can't find him. And finally, right before I got ready to call the police, he had fallen asleep under the dining room table, but there was a
Mm.
tablecloth so we couldn't see him. And
Mhm.
he's like yawning and stretching, you know. And I was just like
Mhm.
happy to see him, but want to strangle him at the same time.
Same time. Absolutely.
He's like,
Absolutely.
I didn't want my granny to give me a bath, you know. I'm just like,
Cutting up. Like, listen, exactly. Because it's like, it's funny, but it's like, it's not. Like, come on now. But
yes.
these
Oh my
kids, boys.
yes, yes, yes. And I have two granddaughters from him.
Mm.
Kinsley, she just turned 8. Delia will be 8 in December.
Oh,
And
wow.
they are him. Both of
Yeah,
them. Yeah, they are him.
that's beautiful.
They
That
have
is beautiful.
they have his personality. And do you have any more questions that you want to ask me or anything that
So,
we didn't cover or you want to
what?
cover?
When did you know that you were going to start the podcast? Like, what? Yeah.
For me, it was I don't know if I shared with you what happened at the funeral, and it was just real crazy. So it was already hard losing Jim.
Of course.
And then at his funeral, I had somebody get up and stand up and say all this stuff. Long story short, it dismantled the whole funeral, so I didn't have an ending.
My God. Mm.
So not only am I grieving my son, I'm grieving the funeral because of all the craziness that happened, right?
Right.
And so I felt like I didn't have closure.
Mm. Mm.
So I talked to my counselor about it, and her and I even we did a live.
Mm-hmm.
That way I could, we could talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I didn't have a voice. I feel like my voice was taken.
Mm-hmm.
Mind you, this guy got up and said these horrible things like, "Where were y'all?" And all like, really.
My goodness.
So with that being said, fast forward, I was like, I even mentioned to her I want to start a podcast, and that's kind of where that went.
Where
So,
they went, yeah. Funerals can be so ugly.
hmm
It brings out the worst in people. And I
true.
think a lot of times it brings out the worst in them because there's some form of regret, something that they carry. They wish and it just brings out the worst in people.
hmm
In my experience, that's what has happened. And I'm like, oh my goodness. Like, I haven't had anything like that, but I've had other things where people were wilding out. And I'm like,
It was bad, Shay. It was bad. Like,
my
I'm
goodness.
literally just trying to sit there and just, I'm looking at my son in a casket,
Of
even
course.
that and I honestly was not even going to go to the funeral.
Mm-hmm.
I was in such a place.
Right.
And my family and a couple, they're like, Cherie, you have to go.
Mm-hmm.
And so I made myself go, and then I go, and then I have
This.
this person get up and say all these hateful things that they know nothing about.
Right.
They walked in his life when he was, a teenager, young adult.
Mm-hmm.
I've been there since the beginning and the end.
Of
They brought,
course. Mm-hmm.
I watched them take him out in a body bag. So for you to stand up here and tell me that you don't know what you're talking about.
Right. Right.
So,
Yeah.
needless to say, that funeral was, that was, and I think even now, it plagues me a little bit because
Mm-hmm.
that's the memory that I have. And in return of him saying those things, I reacted.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
I was taken out of my own son's funeral, kicking and screaming,
Right.
saying some very ugly things.
Right.
And
Right.
that's not how you want to remember your son's funeral.
Right.
You know what I
Right.
mean? But
Let me ask you a question. Follow-up question.
Sure.
Have you considered about doing another form of funeral?
I have. I've thought about balloon release. Um, I thought about getting family together, having a small ceremony. Yes, I have. So I
I think that
can.
that would be wise to do because it'll help bring the closure that you need, the
Yes.
goodbye that you need.
Hmm.
And when I say and I mean the word need, you
Hmm.
need that. And that'll help close some of the circle, the hole that's there. Not
Yes.
fully, because remember I told you we just learn to carry it differently.
Right.
But because you weren't able to do it in the fashion with the respect and dignity that was deserved, you
Yes.
know,
Hmm.
and someone robbed you of that. Now recreating it helps you do it from a different place, right? Because now you have even a greater appreciation for it. And you can have it, you can just let it all out, be everything you want to be, just do it exactly how you want to do it, and it'll cause some level of closure for you because that person robbed you of a moment.
They
They robbed
did.
you of a moment.
It was very hurtful. It was, and by the time I got back, everybody was gone, and
Of course.
you know,
Yeah.
later I had Jimmy cremated, so I have his urn at home, and I have a beautiful portrait of him, and
Mhm.
like a whole little area of
Right.
of him. But it's still, like you said, it doesn't. I was robbed of that.
Yes, you were.
But doing this podcast, meeting you, also
Mhm.
just others, um, the podcast that I did that kind of gave me a somewhat of closure, and I got to talk about,
Mhm.
you know, um,
Yeah.
because in that, he tried to paint me like I was a bad mom. So then I had
Right.
that going on as well, and I'm just like, although I know I'm not, but it's
Right.
still
Of
caught
course.
myself.
Words hurt.
Yeah, and I'm
And
just like,
words publicly hurt in this situation where I'm sensitive, where I'm open and
I'm
you
vulnerable.
yeah, and vulnerable. Yeah, that's not right.
Yeah,
That's not right.
yes. So, um,
And I'm sorry you went through that. I'm sorry
thank
you
you,
experienced that.
thank you so much. Yeah, so that is what brought me to where I am now.
You're doing a wonderful work. I mean, just opening up
Hmm.
and allowing us to come on here and talk about the things that we've had to endure and creating space and
Hmm.
even for your viewers. This is a phenomenal work. This is purpose, 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 purpose. And taking this is the definition of taking your pain and transforming it into purpose,
Hmm.
not just for yourself, but for others.
Hmm.
And this is the healing forward that you're doing. This is your example of healing forward.
Yes.
And I just want to commend you and I thank you for allowing me to come on and share my story
Hmm.
and share a piece of me. And I'm just grateful. I'm grateful for this opportunity in this space. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. That means so much because sometimes I get discouraged because, of course, I'm not where I want to be as far as the viewers and the this and the that. And,
Right.
but I still like, sure, just keep going. You're just going to keep doing it. And it's going to,
That's
you know what
right.
I mean? You don't know whose life you may touch or help. So if there's just
Right.
one viewer,
That's right. Listen, that's one of my favorite scriptures. I become all things to all men that by all means I might save some. So you giving your all and leaving it all on the, leaving it all out there, just giving everything, using your gifts, using your anointing, using everything that you have in order to be able to bless someone else. You just don't know. It only takes one person, right? I just want to impact somebody. It doesn't have to be. I'm not concerned about the numbers. I'm concerned about the who,
right?
right? And I'm telling you that you've already impacted me. That's how I found you. So you doing it, even though you feel like, oh, I'm not really. You are.
Thank
You're
you.
effective and you're impactful.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Shay. That means a lot. That means a lot. We're getting ready to end. I'm going to ask you, before we close, is there anything on your heart that we didn't discuss, something that you feel someone watching or listening needs to hear? Like a closing, anything that we didn't touch on? Or
Um, I won't say we didn't touch on it. I think we touched on it a little bit with myself, but I want to say and impress upon every mother that has lost a child to take your time. Don't let anyone rush your grief. It doesn't work. Take your time. And as long as you are taking the time to experience and process through your emotions, then you are, in fact, healing forward. Heal forward. Heal forward.
I love that. Thank you, Shay. Thank you so much. Go ahead and give us your social media again and where you can be found if anyone wants to reach you or have any.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I can be found on Facebook. My name is Shay Wilson on Facebook. And on Instagram, I can be found at Shay the Brand, CHETHEBRAND. And you'll see my name, Shay Wilson, once you click on Shay the Brand. And on there, you'll be able to go to my bio. I have a link in my bio, which you'll be able to access my workbooks and guides that I have, as well as book a discovery call just to see if we're a good connection. If you need someone to talk to, I'm available.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you, Shay. That was amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
I said you have blessed and helped me. Thank
Oh.
you for being on. I truly appreciate you for coming on, taking time out your day.
Thank you.
Truly means a lot.
Likewise.
Yes. So, if anyone else is interested in being on A Mother's Heart, please message us, DM us. You can go to CherieShante.com. All the information is there. If you want to be a sponsor, and let's build a relationship. And
Absolutely.
yes,
Collaboration.
hey, yes, we're looking for sponsors. So
Mhm.
let us know. We would love to have you. Again, thank you for tuning in on another podcast, and we will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye. Peace out.
Bye.